right, second show of the day. I could do this. We welcome you in. Do it live. Kenner and Kev Show, 1410 ESPN Radio, off and rolling here on a Thursday. We got college football tonight. We got some NFL stuff to talk about. We got Ohio State kicking off this weekend. We have Paul Keels joining us at 3:45. The Paul Keels. Excited about that. We'll talk with the Hall of Fame voice of the Ohio State Buckeyes. Coming up here in just a little bit, Ohio State, Akron, of course. Have you looked at the line on that? Is there a line?
I saw it earlier.
Let me pull up my handy-dandy ESPN Bet app, and let's take a look at this whole line that we have right here. By the way, I won $60 on the Cover 5 app, by the way.
Look at you.
So I've won close to 100 plus $100 the last couple weeks. Now I'm down minus like 11 right now. I had a couple bad picks for this week's contest, but that's besides the point. So let's go take a look at the line for Ohio State here on ESPN Bet. Of course, I'm just kind of waiting for our internet just to work here. That would be nice. That would be a beautiful thing if that could ever be a thing as far as that's concerned. But a lot of great games, not great, but just games tonight, right? But Colorado going to be in action.
8 o'clock.
Florida
North
Atlantic.
Dakota State.
Is Florida Atlantic in action tonight? Michigan State tonight, or is that?
I think that's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow. So there's some Friday games as well, as far as that's concerned. But Ohio State and Akron will kick off coming up on Saturday, and Ohio State is a 48.5-point favorite. 48.5-point favorite, according to ESPN Bet, for their matchup with the Zips coming up on Saturday. So speaking of that, Submarine House in Centerville is where we will be setting up shop starting at 2 o'clock. We'll be going live throughout the Buckeyes pregame show with Paul Keels. So Paul Keels goes live at 2 o'clock. We'll be going live with his pregame show throughout all the way through kickoff at 3:30, and we'll be live at Submarine House. So Submarine House reached out. They got tickets for the Marshall game.
Nice.
So we'll be registering listeners for the Ohio State Marshall game. So when you come on out, we'll have a little sign up for you to get registered. So come on out as far as that's concerned. We're excited about that. No, we can't win.
Oh,
we got to get our tickets. When was the last time we got to take advantage? Did you go last year?
I did not. I
didn't go last year. Did we get them last year?
We did. We were both out of town.
Oh. Well, I'm out of town on a bye week this week, so that is good. Much better timing than in years past.
Indeed.
So let's talk a little AFC North football to open up. We'll get to some college stuff coming up here in segment number 2 before we dive into everything, of course, with the voice, the deep voice of the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Can't wait.
Keels. We spent a lot of time on Jamar Chase yesterday. We spent some time, a lot of time really, on Jamar Chase on off the bench earlier this afternoon. I got beat up in a lot of Bengals message boards. Shocker. You can tell football season's here. But don't worry, my loyal Chiefs fans have come to my defense. So what happens is you put out these tweets, and every once in a while, one will get picked up, and then I'll go get destroyed on a message board, and then everyone just attacks me there.
You've been getting killed on the boards for years.
Yeah, but I finally got on the board that people like me, and that's the Kansas City Chiefs message boards. So they've been coming to my defense over the last hour or two. So I might become, I'm a Browns fan, but I might become a pseudo Chiefs fan. As far as
third team,
concerned. My third
Browns, team. Cowboys, and Chiefs. Okay.
Well, no, I think I'm just gonna make a final decision. Week 1, the Kenner Bowl. Week 1, the Dysfunction Bowl. I think I'm just the winner gets my loyalty.
Okay.
Not really. I'm sticking with the Browns. The Cowboys, they're stressful. Not as stressful as the Browns. So how about the Browns? Wake up this morning. The Cleveland Browns restructured the contract for Deshaun Watson.
Again.
I was starting to, doubt whether or not they were actually going to do that. And that's how the day started. So Field Yates tweets out, the Browns have restructured the contract of quarterback Deshaun Watson, converting $44.8 million of his 2024 base salary into a signing bonus, which created $35 million in cap space. They now take the most cap space of any team in football into the 2024 season. They have, 62 mil? They have 62 mil in cap space. Now, I was told cap hell. Deshaun Watson will have this team in cap hell. The time's coming. Cap hell might be coming, but to be fair, when he signed this deal 2 years ago, man, 2003, 2024, 2023, 2024, cap hell. Well, I've been told today, cap hill in the next couple years. Yes, just like the Rams at some point are going to reach cap hill. The Eagles will. Your Steelers will once they find a quarterback that they pay, right? The Bengals, 2029 is when they become in cap hell with the way that they structure theirs. I don't think it's the insult that you guys think it is. It's only an insult if he doesn't deliver this year. We talked about this yesterday. Deshaun Watson, all of this is where, because I was like, man, this contract, you have to be annoyed with it. I'm like, I'm only going to be annoyed with it if they don't get anything out of it. Because what Andrew Berry is doing is no different than what Howie Roseman's doing with the Eagles. And by the way, the Eagles, Howie Roseman, GM genius in the NFL. But I'm not mad at that. I'm not doing this whole, oh, poor Cleveland, poor Andrew Berry. The difference is the Eagles have won Super Bowls. The Eagles just went to a Super Bowl 2 years ago. They've been to a Super Bowl, had a chance to win it. All right, Jalen Hurts looked fantastic. You look at what the Los Angeles Rams have done. So there are three teams that basically run the same, which is wild. The Browns, the Rams, and the Eagles. They have super rich owners. They have very, very smart GMs, and they manipulate the cap, and they do it perfectly. The difference is two of those teams have been to a Super Bowl. One has won a Super Bowl, and the other one's the Cleveland Browns. So the only way that I will be down on any of this, is if it doesn't pan out and lead to playoff success, a Super Bowl appearance, a Super Bowl championship. Because at the end of the day, Kev, that is all that matters. So don't poke fun at the Browns for they're doing what the top organizations in football do, at least in the offseason, at least in the front office. It's up to Deshaun Watson to go out there and lead them through it. They got a 2-time coach of the year. You got great stand-up guys and David Njoku and Nick Chubb and Amari Cooper. I love the addition of Jerry Jeudy. Right? They get the deal done with Owusu Koromoa before the season started. You have Myles Garrett, who's a historically great player, right? Like they have so much going in their direction. This isn't the typical Browns team that you guys love to make fun of. Last year, 5 different quarterbacks. You guys like to make fun of that. Oh, look how they exited the playoffs. It wasn't great. All right, but 5 different quarterbacks to lead them through the long season. All right, they had multiple position groups out the back half of the season, still kept winning football games. I'm not asking for any sympathy or anything, but let's not. The old Browns is the Browns found ways to lose games. They found ways to win games. I'm not here to be a cheerleader for Cleveland, but I'm not going to sit here and let people just bury them because this is not the old Browns team. The Deshaun Watson situation will be the situation that everyone will talk about forever moving forward. And if he doesn't deliver, Kev, then yes, all of this won't be worth it. But I don't feel bad that the Browns are doing what they should. I mean, you got a team down south that has Super Bowl aspirations that won't pay their damn wide receiver that's leading to becoming a distraction at this point. I'd much rather be the Browns and have their ownership than the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, they have Joe Burrow. So you're like, oh, you'd rather be the Browns than the Bengals? As wild as that sounds, I know the Bengals have their quarterback, but I'll take the organization that's willing to spend money and willing to rework money. A cash-rich owner, yes, give me that organization any day of the week at this point.
2 questions. One, you mentioned you won't be happy unless it amounts to some success. What is the bare minimum amount of success that you will accept to say it was worth it and be happy?
For this season, for this upcoming season, AFC Championship game. For the whole contract as a whole, a Super Bowl appearance. I mean, a win, but it is still Cleveland, right? An AFC Championship game is kind of wild to envision at this point, but a Super Bowl appearance at the very least for this upcoming season, an AFC Championship game at the very least. Not even hosting, just in the AFC Championship game. There's no, but like, I mean, really, I don't know why I'm not even saying Super Bowl. He got paid $45 guaranteed. I mean, technically, it should be Super Bowl this year. You got the run game. You got the offensive line.
So put it on wax. So
Fine.
We have it on the record. What is the
I'll
bare
never
minimum
say Super
right
Bowl,
here?
AFC Championship game.
AFC Championship game.
AFC
Bare
Championship
minimum.
game.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Second question. Is there a point where the Browns become, hey, go to them. They'll just pay you. They're that desperate. They'll pay you, because we can't sit here and act like every player in the NFL is simply in it because they love football. There's tons of talented people in every line of industry that work a job simply because it pays a lot of money and they're good at it.
Yep.
Like there's people that, hey, man, I hate my job, but I'm good at sales, so forget it. I'll just do it. We'll be foolish to believe that there's not a ton of guys in the NFL that are super athletic, super good at football or sports, and they simply play the game because they can get paid. Is there a point where the Browns become, hey, man, go there. They'll pay you, and then they'll rework your contract, and you keep on getting money up front, and you don't even have to play for it? Is there a point there?
Wording it that way sounds like the Browns are like overpaying. I don't think they've overpaid on anybody. Now you could say Deshaun, but the Falcons were willing to do it. The Saints were willing to do it. There's quite a few teams that are willing to do it. I think, yeah. I mean, look, we talk about reputations. The Bengals. I read an article earlier today that talked about the more things change, the more they stay the same. Perception is reality. The Bengals front office has turned a big time corner, obviously, and that it's unfair that they've taken care of. They took care of Logan Wilson. They've taken care of Joe Burrow. They've taken care of a lot of guys, right? Just because they didn't take care of T. Higgins doesn't mean that the Bengals are going in the wrong direction. That's just a business decision that they made, one that I supported. I was fine with the direction they went with T. But because there's a contract dispute right now, those who don't follow the Cincinnati Bengals front office moves over the last couple of years, it's just chalked up to Bengals is the Bengals, right?
Mhm.
That may not be the case, but the perception is reality. So if the perception is reality, if perception is that the Browns are, man, they're just giving money out left and right. And a lot of these free agents, they're tired of dealing with teams that tell them one thing and then end up not following through when it comes. I mean, that's one reason why, I don't know why the Jets even pulled that off with Hassan Reddick not getting a deal done up front.
Right.
But Hassan Reddick, he put up a wall to them saying, hey, you told me this, and now you're going back on it. Eventually, Cleveland does right by enough guys, and they start winning. They made the playoffs last year. They've never made it back-to-back. That matters. They've had winning seasons over the last 5-6 years. They've had a playoff win. They've had multiple playoff appearances. They've never done it consistently and back-to-back. That's the next stage to this. So to answer your question, yes, I think we're getting there, but they're not there yet. Came out today, Brandon Ayuk. Adam Schefter was on the Pat McAfee show. And keep in mind, reports had come out during the Brandon Ayuk saga, chapter 1 of 100, that the Patriots had offered him the most money of any team.
Right.
Cleveland offered him money, but it wasn't as much as the Patriots. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. The Browns can't just hand out all this money, right? Like they're going to offer him a solid contract. But then it comes out that the Browns offered him more money than Pittsburgh and more money than, what was the other team that's going? Washington.
Yeah,
so the
Commanders.
Browns are willing to pay him more than Pittsburgh, and the Browns are willing to pay him more than Washington, but he just didn't want to go there. So there's an example of, okay, the money's not exactly always going to lead just anybody there, but I think it's a balance. I think the Browns are going to be more at the top of the list of free agents and players looking to get somewhere where they can win and get money. But the Browns have to prove that they can consistently win, because the money can only get you so far.
Right. And
then you're the Texas A&M of the NFL. And I don't want that.
Exactly. That was going to be my
Yeah.
point. And I only bring that up because I remember when Mike Holmgren was like the president of operations or whatever, GM, whatever the title was, whatever fancy smancy title he was holding for the Cleveland Browns at that point. I believe it was like in 2010 or something like that. And he was just hiring all his guys. All his guys got paid and got paid well. Like former coaches that used to coach under him with the Packers or even the Seahawks. Like it seemed like everybody came there and got a check. And it all kind of reminded me of that job that you get in high school. Your one buddy works at whatever restaurant in town and he helps everybody get a job there and everybody's getting paid, but nobody's doing any work. Like that's what it seemed like under Mike Holmgren. Not saying that that's the situation that's going on right now with the Cleveland Browns, but until Deshaun Watson plays an entire season, it does have that stench to it to say, hey, man, he keeps on getting paid his entire contract and getting it in a lump sum, not over 17 weeks of playing or 17 weeks of season. He's getting a big fat check to start the season, like $40-something million off the rip before he even plays. So the perception around the NFL could turn into a situation where like, hey, man, good players, you can come here and fleece these dudes and get paid. So if I was a Cleveland Browns fan, I would be worried about that.
So one other thing that caught my attention too, the Browns overtake the Eagles for NFL leading players earning over $10 million per year. The Browns have the most players making $10 million more per year, as far as that's concerned. Deshaun's at that point where you knew they were taking the chance for the first year, knowing a suspension was coming. Cool. Second year, again, all banged up last year, right? But when he was out there, they had started to. They were 5-1 with him as the starting quarterback last year. The last game he played in, it was the best game that he ever played as a Cleveland Brown, when he was damn near perfect in the second half against one of the best defenses in the NFL, the Baltimore Ravens at Baltimore. Baltimore was the hottest team in football at that point. It's near the halfway point of the season. Cleveland goes in there down at half, comes back. He leads them. So you get that clutch come from behind him and David Njoku. Watching those two connect, I was like, oh, that's that second tier target right there from Amari Cooper. That's great. But yeah, again, that don't matter. Baltimore, that don't matter. But then the last time we saw that, that's what you were paying for.
Mm-hmm.
But then the very next day, the announcement about for the season, that's also what you're paying for, as far as that goes. So we'll see. Other news out of the AFC North, outside of Deshaun Watson's, they restructured the contract. They could still do that the same with Jack Conklin.
Mm-hmm.
There's some other guys that they could do that with as well. People keep bringing up, well, down the road, one Jack Duffin, I shot him a note today, who's been on the show, the cap expert.
Yeah.
I said, a lot of people keep bringing up that down the road, this will catch up with them. He said, right now, you take the salary cap hit with the salary, the salary hit when it's at like 240. He goes, 2 or 3 years from now, he goes, a $65 million cap hit when it's up to 300 million, all of a sudden is nothing. You're playing the long game with this, assuming that Deshaun lives up. He goes, the only way this backfires is if he doesn't play well this year, which that's still very likely. I mean, I'll never come on here and say, oh, I guarantee you he's going to be an MVP level quarterback. He's expected to be an MVP level quarterback with everything that they sacrificed to get him. So we'll see. But keep in mind, too, they're always going to have, they're always like, as players get pushed out, you'll have a year where there's a lot of cap hit. Okay, cool. Restructure deals, it offsets it. Keep in mind, too, the $62 million that they have available, Browns fans right away thought, oh, man, they're about to go after Brandon Ayuk. And they're going to have money to go after somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But the $60 million cap hit for next year. Well, guess what? The $62 million that's there right there, that rolls over. You get that on top of the salary cap next year. So guess what? If he's a $60 million cap hit next year, now you don't have to restructure him next year. That $60 million wipes out the $60 million cap hit, and now you're back to operating as usual, restructure the other deals, and Andrew Berry just keeps going. He has the money up front to do that. Mike Brown doesn't. That's the problem with what Cincinnati's facing at this point. That's not a shot. That's just this is live examples of what they're able to do. That's why Browns fans aren't freaking out. Bengals fans today, oh, Jacob, love Jacob, all these guys. They couldn't wait to tell me, do you see what his cap hit is next year? Not, oh, wow, your team has $60 million available heading into week one. I'm like, yeah, I saw it. And that's what some of this rollover money will offset. I ain't worried about it. It hasn't hurt the Browns. The second they signed him, I was told they're in cap hell. Every year they just keep adding and adding and adding. But every year they keep looking at the Bengals going to AFC championship games, Chiefs winning back-to-back Super Bowls. At some point, the production on the field has to matter.
If I was a Browns fan, I'd be more concerned about ownership finally getting fed up about cutting these checks. I mean, we saw Mickey Arison with the Miami Heat get fed up with cutting checks to LeBron James and D Wade and Chris Bosh. I mean, LeBron James, he was sick of paying LeBron James, arguably the best player of all time. You happy I said it? So you're sick of paying that guy, and you're going to the NBA Finals. You went to the finals 4 straight years, and he got sick of paying the luxury tax and everything like that. So when you are a billionaire owner, you don't become a billionaire by accident. You obviously have a lot of business sense and a lot of business savvy. At some point, if you don't get a return on your investment, that being to the Super Bowl or Super Bowl win, for goodness sakes, that's where I would be more concerned, because he got more money than he knows what to do with. He got money longest train smoke. He can do this forever and a day. But just a simple, hey, man, I'm just sick of doing that. I'm sick of paying for this dude and we're not doing anything. I'm sick of paying and he always getting hurt. Like, that's just a human nature thing. Like I said, Mickey Arison owns United Airlines. He got sick of paying LeBron James, and they were actually winning championships. So if I was a Browns fan, I would be more concerned about my owner saying, yeah, I'm done doing that. We're not doing that anymore.
So if that's the case, then that's big time hypocrisy on his end. The Deshaun thing was not Andrew Berry. When you read reports over the years, Andrew Berry was willing to go with Baker. Haslam's came in at the final. So Andrew Berry, they were looking at the Deshaun, kicking the tires on the Deshaun Watson thing. They had thrown their name in the hat. Deshaun initially rejected the Cleveland Browns because the Browns weren't willing to go. He wanted the fully guaranteed. Cleveland said no. It's the Haslams that came in. At first, it was just an Andrew Berry negotiation. The Haslams are the ones that came in and said, all right, fine, give him whatever he wants. That's how Cleveland got back.
They went over the top.
They went over the top. That was a Haslam thing.
Yeah.
So Andrew Berry was being a little cautious. Andrew Berry, everyone says Andrew Berry set that. No, he didn't. He's just the face of the decision. It was the ownership that came in and overruled him as far as that's concerned. So it is what it is. You know, it is what it is. So other news out of the AFC North, Russell Wilson named the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike Tomlin announces that.
That's right.
I feel like I would have rolled my eyes at either one being named the starter. But here's why I don't like. We knew they couldn't start Justin Fields initially because Russell Wilson wouldn't agree to be a backup, probably. At least that's some of the reports that were coming out, right? If you start Justin Fields, you got to initially work with Russell Wilson and his team to get him a trade. That's why the Vikings started popping up as a possibility. Get him somewhere where he can start. But here's the concern. You start Russell Wilson and things don't go well in the first half of the season when the schedule's easier. Then you make the switch to Justin Fields at the halfway point, and then he'll get the blame for the decimation that comes in the back half, if that is the case.
Right.
Now you've killed 2 careers of 2 quarterbacks in one swoop, right? Like, if anything, I would have rather them gone younger and start Fields and let him get comfortable in the Steelers offense the first half of the season with his new wide receivers, offensive line, run game, very good defense, something that he did not have in Chicago. That way he's a little bit more seasoned by the time you get to that halfway point and you reach that gauntlet in the back half of the season. You rolled your eyes when I said Russell Wilson's the starter. Obviously, you're a Steelers fan. How you feeling about Russell Wilson being your starting quarterback, a guy that's won a Super Bowl?
I'm going to go ahead and say the exact same thing I've said before. I never wanted Russ to be with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I understand the purpose of signing Russ because you're getting him for a bargain. The reason Russ is the quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers is simply plain. Justin Fields didn't take it. Justin Fields had every opportunity in the world to take the job and run with it and make Coach Tomlin and the rest of the staff say, sorry, Russ, he's just too good. He took the bull by the horns and he's taking full command of the offense. And he didn't do that. So he had his chance. And what can you do? You can't simply say like, well, we think you're going to be good. You had your opportunity to show us that you're going to be good, and you didn't do that. So you're the backup. Now, also, Russ, yes, he takes a lot of sacks. So does Justin Fields. And everybody talks about the explosiveness that Justin Fields can bring. He'll throw an 80-yard bomb out of nowhere. He can go ahead and run it for 60 yards and all those explosive plays. Russ can no longer do that. He can still throw the bomb. But Russ isn't going to throw a ton of interceptions. He's not going to turn the ball over. Russ is going to do the simple things like handle the snap. Like you literally have to worry about Justin Fields taking the snap. You can't do that. You can't operate like that. You can't operate the football team the way the Steelers are going to be playing football this year. You're going to expect to be 3 yards in a cloud of dust. It's going to be a ground and pound, play action, deep pass type of offense. But if you can't handle the snap, which is causing a turnover, or throwing interceptions, which is a turnover, we can't have you out there. We're going to be relying on our defense. So in Coach Tomlin's mind, this is like, look, man, I had a terrible situation last year. If I could just be average, if I can get Russ to play like Rudolph did last year, those last 3 games of the season, we're golden because we were scoring 30 points a game with him because he wasn't turning the ball over. He was making the simple throw.
I forgot he got hot.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of poking funny. I'm like, oh, don't buy it, Kev. I forgot. They were just playing well. They were putting up points. They
were putting up points, and he was doing the simple things like, throwing it to the dudes with the black and yellow on as opposed to the other color on. He was doing the simple things. And I believe Russ can do that, especially the first half of the season. Now, we're going to see what happens the second half of the season, where you play every team in the AFC North twice, where you play the Chiefs on Christmas Day, where you play the Eagles, where you play basically Murderer's Row the back half of the season. We'll see if we can hang on. But, you're expecting Russ to just hold on, just be average. That's all we need you to be, is be average. And chances are we'll probably be there with an opportunity to make the playoffs.
Russ played on a bad Broncos team last year. Russ wasn't bad last year. But you said, let's just be average. He was above that average, though.
Get in and out the huddle.
You know what?
If
he starts riding, you don't get to cheer. In fact, I'm not going to let you cheer. I'm going to remind you. All right. No. You're going to get that black and orange towel to wave that. That's what you're going to be wearing.
Hey, but have you noticed there's no corny? Well, Russ is always corny, and everybody's corny in their own sense. But there's no corny Steeler Nation, let's ride. Like, there's been very limited amount of corny Russ with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I could have been a fly on the wall in that meeting with Russ, Coach Tomlin, and the ownership of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I could only imagine what they told him. Like, look, man, you can be yourself, but none of that stuff. None of that extra stuff.
But Sean Payton was the devil when he said that.
Hey, said it behind closed doors.
Fair enough.
Behind closed doors. Hey.
He doesn't have an office. He doesn't have an office.
Yeah.
The Steelers doesn't have his own little
parking spot.
So.
I don't know, man. We're going to see. We're going to see, man. Matter of fact, we always talk about the Murderer's Row.
My friend Nagi said you're going to be doing high knees in the studio by the end of the year. You're going to be doing stretches.
You're going to be doing push-ups on the airplane, too, or something weird like that?
Yeah. Every Friday, you're going to be getting jacked up for the game. You're going to be riding every Friday, getting ready for the game. You're going to be. When does Kev Nash return to Fridays? By the way,
next week. Next week.
One.
I'm back in the building next week.
What up, Noggy? Noggy had a little Jamar Chase as his little profile. How cute. Cute.
We talked about what would be a good opening for the Cincinnati Bengals yesterday. What would be a good opening for the Steelers? They open at Atlanta, go to Denver, home with the Chargers, and then at Indianapolis for September.
Their first 4 games are what? Use this as a teaser.
At Atlanta, at Denver, home with the Chargers, at Colts.
Interesting start. Those are all one of those. There's not one easy one there, but there's no impossible one there either, even though I'm very high in Atlanta. Let's pick up with this. What would be considered a good start for the Pittsburgh Steelers with Russell Wilson as their starting quarterback?
That's right.
Are they going to be riding?
Let Russ cook.
Riding, cooking. What's an FCC approved word for the bad side of that? You know?
TJ, do something. Minka, do something.
TJ, the most dominant defensive player, and no playoff wins. They lost to Cleveland. We'll be right back. Get on Cap 1410 ESPN Radio. Jamar practices today, probably.
Benjamin Chimera and Big Kev bring you Dayton's only local sports talk show dedicated to professional wrestling. Don't miss Cards Subject to Change. Every Thursday night at 6 p.m. right here on 1410 ESPN Radio and on the iHeartRadio app.
Mics are hot.
Penn State, West Virginia coming up this weekend. That's a non-top 25 matchup that I'm semi-intrigued by, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah.
So we're talking Steelers. This game, I don't think we're doing any favors for Justin Fields based on his Buckeye fandom. But David M on YouTube says taking our Oh, okay. I thought he said yours, so it's our. He's lumping us all in.
Okay.
Taking our Buckeye-colored glasses off, Fields needs to step up and take that next leap in his development, or he's going to be given that bust label. He should be able to overtake Wilson by now. Look, I think we've all done a good job of not using our Buckeye-colored glasses with them. I think the Buckeye-colored glasses have led to us kind of giving him a little bit more of a leash of kind of hoping, but there's just not many examples in the NFL of guys that get drafted, don't look good, and then magically just appear. Now, you could talk about Baker, but to be fair, Baker looked good right away and then fell off. And then once he got back in a good situation, took back off again. I don't think there's many examples of guys that don't look good early and then develop into star. Josh Allen never looked bad, but he was just kind of average, and then turned into Josh Allen. That's as close as I could think. I don't think Fields has ever looked average outside of when he was just that electric playmaker. He just wasn't doing enough with his arm at the time to match his athleticism. So I don't know. I just don't think there's anything in there for Fields. But if there was ever an opportunity to find out, now might be the final time as far as him being a starter in the National Football League.
I think he had his chance. I think he had his chance when camp started, where Russ was not practicing at all. Like he was getting all the first team reps and second team reps. Like he was getting overused to show what he could do. Not necessarily show what he could do, but like, hey, well, you're obviously the number 2 guy, but Russ has a hamstring issue or whatever, calf strain or whatever. So he wasn't getting those snaps. So you were getting all the opportunities and you had it and you didn't capitalize. And I mean, there's no other way to say it. Like we can, oh yeah, we're Buckeye fans, this and Buckeye fans, that. But like at some point, like, hey man, like you had your chance and you didn't prove it. Like it doesn't mean we're not Buckeye fans, doesn't mean we're not rooting for him, but like you had your chance and you didn't do enough to prove that you were the number 1 guy.
Yeah. And bottom line is, I don't think that the Steelers brought either of these guys over to be the franchise quarterback long-term. This is an opportunity where you have superstars on the defensive side of the ball that you're trying to capitalize on in this short window of time. Now, the Steelers don't rebuild. We completely get that, but I think that they know that there's something here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think that if they truly felt that they don't really have anything cooking on defense, and they can't get the quarterback right. They have a couple good wide receivers, but the run game's and the O-line's bad. I'm not saying the Steelers will never rebuild, but I think they haven't been put in a position where they've had to go. They've always had one side of the ball figured out to where they felt like, well, there's no point in rebuilding. We just need to get this side of the ball figured out. They just haven't been able to do that. Right now, they have a short window of time where you still have Watt in the prime of his career. Obviously, you talk about, you look at the secondary. There's weapons on the defensive side of the ball for the Steelers that they look at and say, we got a short window of time. We're not bringing in Russ to be the quarterback of the future. We just need him to be the quarterback right now. Same thing with Justin Fields. And Justin Fields, you might mess around and end up having a quarterback of the future when it's all said and done. But we were looking at the Steelers schedule. Looking at the Steelers schedule, we talked about the Bengals yesterday as far as what's an acceptable start to the season for the Bengals. I think for them, as we looked at that schedule, I was like, if they're any less than 3-1, I don't think that's a good start to the season for the Cincinnati Bengals. They play obviously the Patriots right off the bat in week 1. You got the Giants and the Panthers. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And you got the Chiefs week 2. Yeah, I didn't do the schedule in any order, but those are your first 4 opponents. A 3-1 start in there with a forgivable loss to the Chiefs because it's the 2-time defending Super Bowl champs. But they could very easily be 4-0, 3-1 at the very worst. I think a 2-2 start for the Bengals would be slow considering healthy Joe Burrow with this, that, and the other. We spent time on that yesterday. As far as the Steelers are concerned, go through their first 4 opponents again.
At Atlanta, at Denver, home Chargers, at Colts. That's September.
So they open up one more time. Who again? Sorry, one more time.
Atlanta Falcons.
See, I'll give them Atlanta loss. I'm high in Atlanta.
Loss. I got a loss there.
Okay.
At Denver.
I'll give them the win there.
Dub. Home Chargers. I'm gonna go with dub.
See, I like the Chargers for a little bit. I'm gonna go with the Chargers. But again, that could change depending on what Russ looks like the first couple weeks. But I like Harbaugh as much as that pains me. The offensive line's still good. I like the fact that they got J.K. Dobbins. I like that they have, and they have not a sexy wide receiver room, but they did keep that defense intact. I think the Chargers might be better than we're giving them credit for. They just won't look as flashy. I'm going to go with the Chargers. So a 1-2 start, at least on my end.
I got them 2-1.
2-1?
2-1, and then at the Colts loss.
See, I'm not high on Richardson.
Okay.
I saw, the Cincinnati Bengals had that joint practice with them last week. There were literal reports. Cincinnati had the second worst defense in the NFL last year. They're not in position to be laughing at anybody. They were laughing and mocking Richardson during their joint practice. Like, he can't throw. He had wide open receivers. Bengals making fun of their own selves. They had wide open receivers. He couldn't throw and get them the ball in the joint practice. And then, of course, he started out hot in the preseason game, and then going up against the Bengals' second string guys down the stretch, overthrowing guys through the pick six. Didn't look good. I'm just not sold on him yet. I know that the potential's there, so I'm going to go with the 3-1 start. Or a 2-2 start. I'm sorry, for Pittsburgh. I think that's a realistic start, and that's typical Pittsburgh under Mike Tomlin at this point.
Yeah, I got 2-2 as well. Just different matchups, just a different layout of the games going. So 2-2.
2-2. And so anything less than that, obviously, I mean, that's a 1-3 start if it's less. But I mean, look, I think they could beat the Colts. I think that they could beat. I mean, outside of the Falcons, yeah.
Why are you so high on the Falcons?
I like Kirk Cousins. And I like Bijan
I like his
Robinson.
bank account.
I love the defense. I love Judon, adding him to the pass. The Falcons had one of the best defenses in the NFL last year. They just were so putrid offensively. You go and you add Justin Simmons already. When you have Jesse Bates, you add Judon to what was already a very good pass rushing team. I like what they did there. And then, of course, you go and you get a quarterback that can actually throw the football. And I think that, of course, they're definitely going to utilize Bijan Robinson a lot different. Bijan Robinson, from a fantasy football standpoint, is like the most talked about player right now. And I think because he's going to be featured pretty heavily in this offense. And the tight end, what's the tight end's name?
Pitts.
It was Pitts. It's a make or break year for him because remember, he was a generational tight end.
Yeah.
A can't miss tight end, right? Which is funny. We say that all the time. Every year there's this tight end you can't miss out on. You had the guy to Georgia this year that you just couldn't miss out on. So we'll see what happens. But I really like the Falcons. I also just because that division's so bad. The Buccaneers did a lot. They re-signed. They extended Baker. They kept his wide receivers. They didn't add anything.
So they got Baker. It's all good, baby. They got Baker.
Baker's just a very good quarterback. They're gonna be good. The Bucs will be good. But I think that the Saints. I'm sorry. I think that the Falcons will just be more explosive. That defense it's kind of like Pittsburgh. They had that defense. They just need that offense to complement it. And I think that they got the pieces in the offseason to get that offense flowing. Plus, I let my guys over on off the bench convince me that Atlanta is going to be really, really good. So
you've been swayed.
I might be letting them sway me a bit as far as that's concerned. So we'll see. All right, we're going to step away for a few moments. We're going to talk some college football. The voice of the Ohio State Buckeyes, Paul Keels, that booming voice of his. He's going to be joining us every Thursday from here through the rest of the college football season, talking all things Ohio State, Big Ten, college football, and more. The legendary voice of the Buckeyes, Paul Keels, joins us next. It's the Kinner and Kev Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle.
Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, back with you here. We are Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. We're Dayton's ESPN Radio. We are also Dayton's exclusive radio home for Ohio State football. The Buckeyes kick off the 2024 season coming up this Saturday, 2 o'clock. Pregame coverage begins, and, of course, 3:30. We'll have the kickoff right here on
back
1410 ESPN Radio, as well as simulcasted on our FM 92.9 Jack FM. So how about that? High school kicked off last week, Kev.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, with the heat this week, last week was beautiful fall week 1 weather. This week it's that typical August, hot, humid, miserable stuff. So we're doing Pick Central and Wayne tomorrow as our week 2 game of the week. College Football Hall of Famer Keith Byers and I will be on the call, not at 7 like we planned. I just got a note from Wayne that they are pushing the game back to 8 o'clock because of the concerns with the heat and everything. So we'll still be on the air tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. We'll have the kickoff, Wayne and Pick Central, 1410 ESPN Radio.
Can't wait. High school football, Buckeyes, NFL right around the corner. It's that time. It's that time, man.
All right, so every Thursday moving forward, we will be joined by the big booming voice of the legendary voice of the Ohio State Buckeyes, Mr. Paul Keels, and he's joining us now. Paul Keels, welcome, sir. It's been a while. Good hearing from you.
It is always good to talk to you guys. How are things out that way?
Well, hot, as you were just hearing. They're moving some kickoff times back already for high school football. I'm assuming it's the same over in Columbus, I'm sure.
Yeah, there was a few that announced yesterday they were going to do the same, and I think there was even some in Cincinnati that did that too. So let's hope it helps.
Yeah, I mean, so I think our game got moved back to 8 o'clock, but they have us setting up outside. So, at least it'll be.
So it isn't going to matter.
It ain't going to matter. No. But, all right, the season's finally here. I know we had week 0 that kicked everything off last week, and there's some games tonight, games tomorrow, but, of course, it all goes down on Saturday. I know for Ohio State, it's not the most booming schedule to kick things off this non-con go-round, of course. Everyone's looking ahead. You got Oregon not too far off in the distance, but these games matter, and especially with the team that has so many question marks despite all the returning players and all the high expectations. Ohio State, Akron, it's just more about what Ohio State team shows up versus who they're playing at this point. Week 1 going to be a big one as they kick it off coming up on Saturday.
Yeah, and the non-conference schedule's gotten a lot of talk. Justin, you may know, originally Washington was going to be on this schedule, but when it was looking that the Big Ten was going to expand as far as they did, Ohio State and Washington agreed to bow out of that game. Also, Southern Miss was supposed to be the season opening game, but then that change was negotiated to make it Akron, so it's money that stays in the state. But as Ryan Day talks about a lot, it's they respect their opponents, but it's about what they need to do, coming out fast, playing as clean as they can, being the hardest playing team on the field. All of the cliches that he's used this summer to get ready for the season. And, for those players, they've been through camp. They've been through going against one another. They're ready to hit somebody else and play against somebody else.
Absolutely. Now, every single Ohio State football season is anticipated, but I'm not sure if we've had one this anticipated with all the returning starters, the transfers coming in from Caleb Downs to Junkins to Will Howard, the new offensive coordinator and Chip Kelly. Like, how's the buzz up there in Columbus?
Well, it's Kev, as you know, it's been crazy how people have looked forward to this and crazy how people have highly anticipated. There were some years, the late 90s under Coach Cooper, the 98 team, 2003 after winning a national title, 2005, 2006, 2015. There were years where there were big buildup, but not necessarily like this for the reasons you just mentioned. The players that could have tried to go pro but opted to come back, for those that came in to fit some of those significant pieces, and also with the 12-team playoff, the new wrinkle that presents. So it's a lot of excitement. There are those who want to just focus on the Michigan game because of how that's gone the last 3 years. There are those who want to focus on the postseason or who talk about it's championship game or bust. But, it's one step at a time. And certainly the game last week, Georgia Tech, Florida State, showed that you can't take anything for granted.
Absolutely. You brought up the Florida State, Georgia Tech game. I'm sure Coach and every coaching staff across the country is bringing that up as a bulletin board that, hey, you have to come prepared to play each and every game and respect your opponent. What do you think Coach Day is saying to the team?
What he's talking about is exactly those things. Be the hardest team playing on the field. Respect your opponent. work on trying to improve, to get better. Their hope is that they can also play a lot of players to get development continued for those guys. And really all you have to do is think about it. It's been since before Ryan Day was the head coach, but you think about how Ohio State, not too far in the past, has had losses that have ruined their dreams. A game at Purdue that they got to run off the field. A loss at Iowa where they printed up T-shirts that said Woodshed, Iowa. So, even though it doesn't involve guys on the team right now, this is a program that is not too far removed from a loss that nobody saw coming and how that can ruin your dreams.
Paul, I always have a guy on the Buckeyes. I love all the Buckeyes, but I always find myself having a guy. Last year was Xavier Johnson, and this year it's Travion Henderson. I've been doing a lot of reading about him and, some of the anxiety issues that he's battled and, his faith and everything like that he's really dug deep into and bringing his teammates along with them. Like, what can you say about Travion and his leadership for the team? Because this isn't an easy position him to be in, to come back to school and then, Junkins come in and now he's going to be splitting carries and everything like that. Can you speak to about his leadership?
Well, I think the first and foremost is Travion staying healthy is going to be a key. We saw 2 years ago how injuries really sidelined him and really affected the team with the lack of the kind of production he brings to the running back position. As far as you talk about the players that came back, I don't know that his stock was going to be that good to go professional. Probably it would have gotten a look somehow, some way, but not like maybe some of the others, but a guy that felt like there was unfinished business. And I think that's the thing Travion brings, as well as guys like Jack Sawyer and Jalen Tuimoloau and Denzel Burke. But the way Travion Henderson seemingly handled the addition of Quinshon Judkins, and Ryan Day's been very outward talking about how when they were recruiting Quinshon, they had Travion very much involved in that, said, hey, this is what we want to do. It's no slight to you or anything like that. And probably the biggest example of leadership that Travion Henderson probably showed, again, we're not there at practice, we're not in the locker room, but the fact that he was willing to take on another bell cow type of running back at the same position to carry the same load, and understanding that if things go well, this could be the longest season in the history of Ohio State football. So I think that's probably kept the biggest example of Travion Henderson showing that it's a team-first mentality.
That's awesome. Now, the big buzz around camp is obviously the hot shot freshman wide receiver going to be starting right off the bat. I've heard things. You've heard things. Kenner's heard things. We've read everything on the message boards, but you have the inside track. Is it true? Is he really as good as they say?
Well, it seems to be. And again, our access is limited. The only practices we got to were a few of the early ones that were open. Not really a lot was shown then. We saw some of what he did in spring football. But Ryan Day has tried to tamp down some, not all of the talk about Jeremiah Smith and the things that he can do. The most exciting thing is the fact that he's coming into a group where you've got a known commodity in Emeka Egbuka. You've got returning veterans like Jaden Ballard. You've got up-and-coming guys like Carnell Tate and Brandon Ennis. And it's not going to be something that's going to fall on just one receiver. So hopefully what that does is it doesn't put too much on his plate, especially mentally. He can just go out and be himself. But there are those who go to practice all the time, those who see the things that he does that we don't all get to see, that remark about how this could be a guy that could be a game-changing type of wide receiver as a first-year player.
It's wild about Emeka Egbuka. It's the fact that he's always, he's been one of the most consistent wide receivers really in the history of Ohio State football. But the thing is, he's never been on that front burner as the guy that gets all the attention. Obviously, you had your Jackson Smith and Jigba, and you go to Marvin Harrison Jr. And just as he's supposed to be the guy that everyone's talking about, not that anyone's not talking about him, then Jeremiah Smith comes and he's hogging all the attention. And that's not really what's happening. It's just funny. He's just that constant that has been a part of the Buckeyes passing attack for so long. And really, he's done that for CJ Stroud. He did it last year for Kyle McCord, and obviously going to be the constant coming up here for Will Howard. 3 different quarterbacks he's played with the last couple of years, and he's been so consistent. I think he's a very underrated receiver, big picture, when it comes to Ohio State wide receivers during the Ryan Day era.
Well, Justin, some of that is fact. Remember, he dealt with injuries last year, so he had 3 games he didn't play. So staying healthy is going to be pivotal. But he's a guy that really kind of, if you remember back to that Rose Bowl when Ohio State beat Utah, that was the game where both Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson for understandable reasons, didn't play as they were getting ready for the draft. And that's where Marvin Harrison and Jackson Smith and Jigba broke out. But we also saw some of what Emeka Ibuka could do, especially in the return game. As a freshman, that's where he provided big value to this football team. So he's a guy that's got big play type of ability. Remember, he's got 2 rushing touchdowns in his career as well. If you think back a couple of years ago, there was a game in Northwestern when it was really windy. It was tough for anybody to throw the football. And the game really turned around on a rushing touchdown in which they handed the ball to Emeka Ibuka. So he's a guy that brings a lot of talent in different variables. And he's a guy that certainly is going to be one that sets the tone in that receiving group.
It's year 3 for Coach Knowles and that defense. What can we expect? Obviously, there's a lot of veteran guys coming back. So should we expect some silver bullets to really be the silver bullets?
So year 3, but as you said, Kev, it's those people coming back. Think back, the Gator Bowl against Missouri was disappointing as far as the team result. But do you remember how Jack Sawyer played in that game? He was on fire. We've seen what Jalen Tuimoloau can do in flashes, but, there's always the search for consistency there. Having their 2 defensive tackles and Tyleek Williams coming back and Ty Hamilton, guys that can really be gap eaters and can put pressure on. There's depth behind those 4 on the defensive line, so that's part of what's encouraging. The skill in the secondary, with the corners they have, with Jordan Hancock, with Davis and Igbenogson and Denzel Burke, you throw in a healthy Lathan Ransom at safety, and then all of the anticipation of what Caleb Downs is going to bring. And maybe one of the most curious spots on that defense is going to be Sonny Styles moving from safety to linebacker. We've seen his pure athletic ability. And remember, Sonny reclassified, and he came to Ohio State when he should have been playing his senior year of high school football. But, he's gotten bigger. Well, he's always been big, but he's grown into a linebacker position. So it's a defense that certainly seems as though with the push they can get up front and the coverage they can get on the back end, that they can play the kind of complementary defensive football that can really make life difficult for opponents.
Paul, when you think about how last season ended, obviously that 3rd straight loss to Michigan, the unfortunate bowl loss to Missouri, it was just such a wild finish to a season that had so much anticipation last year, and that's pretty much every season with anticipation. But it's wild to have all that negativity head into an off season and then to have so much positivity follow behind it. It's like last year was just a thing of the past. It's not even talked about or thought about right now. It's all full steam ahead. But with what little time you've had around Ryan Day, just any interviews the coaches showed do you sense any difference in Ryan Day and how he's kind of carrying himself? Like, what's the sense you get about Ryan Day's mental approach heading into this season, where I know people make a lot about the 3 straight losses to Michigan. There's a lot of expectations, championship or bust on this team. What's the vibe around Ryan Day that you're getting right now in your encounters that you've had with him thus far?
Well, I think we talked about it earlier this summer, Justin. Ryan Day makes our life so easy. He is so wonderful to deal with the things that, he's contractually obligated to have me bug him 3 times a week, but he's very, very good about it. But the thing that you can tell about Ryan Day, he's player-oriented. He's team-oriented. Having Chip Kelly there as an offensive coordinator has allowed him, by a lot of accounts, to be a little more of a CEO with a football team when it comes to practice and the on-the-field things. But there's a driven purpose to Ryan Day. You can see it. It's not one of those where it's a stern look or it's, like a borderline rude approach to anybody or anything like that. It's just kind of the focus that's always there. But he has such a good connection with people and with his players. He'll be the first one to tell you, you're not allowed to lose games at Ohio State. He's never said it, but, he probably would also tell you privately, you're not allowed to lose to your rival, to Michigan, as they have for 3 straight games. He knows what he's dealing with. He knows what they're dealing with and knows the expectations. But, he welcomes it just as all of those players and all of those coaches do, knowing that it's a privilege to be at Ohio State, a privilege to be in a great opportunity to be part of a great rivalry and to be involved in a great sport like college football. So there's been a lot of things to answer your question, Justin. He's been very similar in so many ways, especially the ways that we get to deal with him. But there's no question the effort that was put into once that Cotton Bowl was over, making the decisions they needed to make, whether it was, decisions on a coaching staff. And he's had to make the tough decisions that maybe other coaches haven't done about who they had to go out and get to fill their spots. Everybody, I think, was very, very well aware they needed to get somebody at quarterback, especially a veteran presence, and especially somebody that would provide a rushing threat at the quarterback position, something they haven't had since Justin Fields. So he's the same in so many ways, but you can tell the driven purpose in Ryan Day.
You talked about Will Howard, and we talked about Chip Kelly a little bit. what's going on with their relationship, because he's going to be QB1 and we have a new play caller in Chip Kelly. What can we expect from the Buckeyes offense?
I think, Kev, that's the thing we're all anxious to see when it gets unveiled on Saturday. The thing that when you read about what Chip Kelly has done in his recent work at UCLA, it's not maybe all of the passing stuff that people think about. It's emphasizing the run. And certainly we know there was a need for the quarterback to present a running threat. The comment was made the other day in one of the interview sessions. In one of the practices, they clocked Will Howard running at 22 miles per hour. There's been a couple of times that people who have access to go to practice that say he's broken off long touchdown runs, and he did that at Kansas State. Apparently there was one instance in practice where he broke off an 80-yard run for a touchdown. Plus, he's a big guy. He's 6'4 plus. He's really, even though he's trimmed his body down, he's a big physical presence. So maybe the thing, to answer your question, Kev, but that might be interesting, especially when it comes to Will Howard and possibly as a running threat, what's that going to look like when the Buckeyes get in the red zone? Because for a defense, knowing that there's a quarterback you have to account for with a run, that's one more stress point they've got to figure out.
All right, the voice of the Buckeyes, Paul Keels, awesome enough to give us some time, and we'll be giving this time every Thursday throughout the Ohio State and college football season. We look forward to having you on each and every week, Paul. So send us out with this. New additions to the Big Ten. You talked about Washington a little bit ago. One reason we saw a schedule tweak with Ohio State. Obviously, Oregon's getting a lot of the attention coming in. It was interesting hearing Nick Saban on game day over the weekend kind of talk about USC, saying that way too many people are overlooking USC in the Big Ten. Obviously, defense has been their biggest weakness. They addressed that, they hope, with the new defensive coordinator they brought in. But Lincoln Riley has made it work with every quarterback that he's ever had. Who's to say that USC can't make it work in year one in the Big Ten? Outside of Oregon, who's that new team that you're keeping an eye on that you're kind of intrigued by when it comes to how they can look in the Big Ten in the first year?
Well, it probably would be USC. Now, remember, their quarterback did play in their bowl game and played very well. So that's going to be the team. And the other part of it, too, is going to be how do these Western teams handle multiple trips to the Midwest and the East? Ohio State's fortunate. They only have to make one trip to the West, and it's a big one going to Oregon. But those Western schools are going to have to make multiple long-distance trips. How's that going to affect them? And I also want to say one of the highlights of the summer was getting to experience the Justin Kinner golf game. That was a highlight of the summer. I had to throw that in there.
Yeah, it hasn't got much better, Paul, but you know what? The drinks they're just as good on the course today as they were that day. So there you go.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Paul, thank you so much. We'll talk next week. Thank you.
All right, guys. My pleasure.
All right, good stuff. Paul Keels, you'll hear him this Saturday, 2 o'clock. Pregame coverage begins. Ohio State kicks off the season against Akron. 3:30 the kickoff. 2 o'clock coverage begins. We're going to be live at Submarine House in Centerville for our Buckeye pregame tailgate, okay? We were told that we're going to be giving away tickets to the Ohio State Marshall game, so come on out, get registered to win tickets there. You'll have multiple opportunities to win tickets as well because we'll be giving those away, get people registered over the next couple of weeks at our pregame tailgate stops at the different locations, different Submarine House locations. But this Saturday, all that matters, 2 o'clock, Submarine House, Centerville. We look forward to seeing you there. Shout out to the voice of the Buckeyes, Paul Keels. All right, Kenner and Kev Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. We'll step away for a few moments. We'll recap some of the things he had to say. But yeah, Jeremiah Smith, true freshman, starting at wide receiver. Unbelievable. Everything we've heard about him. I mean, the rich get richer when it comes to wide receiver position for the Ohio State Buckeyes. We'll be right back.
Did you and your family lose Ohio?
Don't miss Dayton's top-rated local sports talk show, Kenner and Kev. Hang out with the guys weekdays at 3 p.m. as they talk Buckeyes, Bengals, Browns, Reds, and yes, your Wright State Raiders. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. Wright State basketball has a new radio home on 1410 ESPN Radio and 101.5 Hank FM. Don't miss the Raiders all season long with Chris Collins and Jim Brown on the call. For tickets to upcoming home games, visit WSURaiders.com. Don't miss the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays at 3 p.m. on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. Listen, stream, and now watch. Search the Justin Kinner Show on Facebook to follow along.
Justin Kenner, Kev Nash, Dayton's ESPN Radio 1410 Wing AM. We are Dayton's radio home for Ohio State football. Ohio State kicks off the 2024 season. Coming up this Saturday, 2 o'clock coverage begins. We'll be live at Submarine House in Centerville, of course, and we'll be out there getting people registered to win tickets for Ohio State Marshall coming up here in a few weeks as well. So come on out this Saturday. We'll get you all hooked up. Keep that in mind. We're looking forward to seeing everyone for Ohio State Buckeye Tailgate live at Submarine House in Centerville starting at 2 o'clock. We'll be bouncing around different Submarine Houses throughout the season, and we'll be letting you know that week leading up to it which one where we'll be. KB going to be in, he'll be, meant to ask Paul Keels about this, but Archie Griffin on Saturday too.
Yeah.
And all that fun stuff too. So, yeah, but nonetheless.
It's here, man. I'm so happy.
Yeah, that weather is something. So our week 2 game of the week, tomorrow night will be at Wayne. Wayne will be welcoming in Pick Central. I'm super excited about that matchup, by the way. Some games, I'm not sure how many of the games in the Miami Valley have been pushed back due to the heat, but the game tomorrow night, our week 2 game of the week, Pick Central at Huber Heights Wayne, will be a 8 o'clock kickoff. We'll have that right here on 101 or on 1410 ESPN Radio, carried on 101.5 Hank FM. So keep that in mind. 937sports.com, our high school football scoreboard feature, by the way. Take advantage of that. I know when you're out of games over the weekend and you're at home and you're just kind of curious some of the scores of the high school games throughout the area, go to 937sports.com. Save that on your phone, however you want to do it, but live up-to-the-minute score updates. It's pretty cool. In fact, every time Keith and I are updating everyone on scores around the league during the games, we're referencing our high school football scoreboard at 937sports.com. So make sure you take advantage of that as far as that's concerned. Okay, Brett McMurphy, you know him, right?
Yes,
You're familiar
sir.
with him? Yeah, everyone is, right? I think he's losing a little bit of his heel power from a few years ago. I think people have moved on from the fact that he basically, he had the bombshell report that started the exit of Urban Meyer, right? So, all right. Brett McMurphy wrote the article in the week about Clemson coach Dabo Swinney, how he's changing the coaches show for him. He's no longer going to take calls. Remember, he got just he didn't handle criticism too well, whatever. But he brought this up in the article because he's very good at trolling. But it tied in perfectly. And I hate trolls. You know me. Hate trolls. Dabo Swinney will no longer take live calls on his weekly radio show. Hopefully the Tigers can end something else, according to Brett McMurphy, their failure to live up to preseason expectations. Man, when you upset Brett McMurphy, he's coming for you. He's got, by the way, Bengals fans, bunch of crybabies. You guys think, Kev, they get so mad at Adam Schefter.
Shefty.
They blame Adam Schefter for everything. It's the most sad thing I've ever seen in my life. Adam Schefter. Jamar Chase is at practice Sunday. Where are you at, Adam Schefter?
He don't like us.
So he retweeted that he was at practice, but he was the first. I mean, he was the first to retweet ESPN's Ben Baby. The second he tweeted out that Jamar wasn't. Yeah, they always pile on Adam Schefter. I'm like, why do you need his approval? If you hate him so much, why do you need his approval? Who cares? Same thing with me. You guys hate me so much, but y'all get, oh, Kenner, who cares what you do? You tune in. I appreciate that. We want you to keep tuning in. But my gosh. But so Brett McMurphy, hopefully the Clemson Tigers can end something else, their failure to live up to preseason expectations. Clemson is the nation's only school that has been ranked in the preseason AP top 25 in each of the last 5 years, and then goes on to finish the season ranked lower than its preseason ranking. That's a low number. Or they're the only one that has finished lower 5 straight years.
5 straight
years. That's pretty wild. So what he did is he called it McMurphy's Law, a little play off of his name, of course. Yep, I'm going to have you guess some of these.
Okay, let's do it.
Guess some of these. I don't want these to, maybe I don't want to block the camera. Yeah, we're good. We'll put some music behind this. Let's get at least some college football music. No, that ain't it. Let me. What's happening with our stuff here? I have no clue what's going on. Whatever.
Good enough.
Good enough, right? Good enough as far as that's concerned. McMurphy's Law, Kev. Most overrated college football teams based on preseason ranking. So these are the teams, and we did this on Off the Bench earlier today. These are the teams that end up finishing behind what they're anticipated to finish according to the preseason polls. So who do you think comes in at number 1 on that list? I know we talked about Clemson. They're not
at the
number top
1
of that. I'll give you that. It's not Clemson.
Texas A&M.
Texas A&M comes in at number 4.
Okay.
It is an SEC school, however.
Florida?
Florida is not there either.
Okay. Let me give one more out the good old SEC. I'm gonna go with. Sorry, Brad Mays, but I'm gonna go with Tennessee.
What up, Brad Mays? Tennessee is not even in the top 10. They're not even
Who is
on the
it?
top. Wow, Tennessee is not even on the top 25. So Auburn, the Auburn Tigers.
Okay.
All right, so the most overrated college football teams based on preseason rankings. All right, that means they come in and let's just say come in at number 8.
A lot of fanfare,
yeah, they fall out or they finish at 25. They're overrated every year. He also did the opposite, the most underrated teams, the teams that always finish well above what their preseason ranking is. We'll get to those in a moment. Auburn comes in at number 1. I'll tell you who comes in at number 10, your Florida State Seminoles.
They were definitely going to be on my list.
I was going to go to number 10, no matter who was there. That was a coincidence. I promise. Oh, I'm going to give you this one. But number
13-0 last year, by the way.
This team, I'm surprised, isn't higher. The Miami Hurricanes come in at number 9.
The U, 2 back-to-back ACC teams. I could see that. I mean, Miami, I don't ever think that they start the year in the top 10, but they're always in the top, 15 to 20, but they're always in the season unranked at all.
Yeah, it's like Miami done every year. The U is back, right? It's like Texas.
Yeah,
but Oklahoma coming in at number 8. Boomer Sooner.
Boomer Sooner. First game tomorrow versus Temple. Make sure you tune in 7:00. Nephew's about to get it popping.
How's Reggie doing?
He is doing very well.
Why don't you give him some love?
He is doing very, very well.
Reggie Powers, by the way.
Reggie Powers III. Make sure you tune in to the Oklahoma Sooners tomorrow. They're playing
out.
Temple on ESPN. I'll be watching. Everybody's watching. His parents are going to the game, for goodness sakes. But no, he's doing very well. I'm very interested to see how much playing time he gets in game 1.
Yeah, he doesn't look like a freshman, by the way. He's pretty jacked. Let's just put it that way, all right?
The boy's eating well.
Oregon Ducks come in at number 7, the Longhorns, Texas at number 6, and LSU at number 5.
Definitely understand about Texas because Texas is back. That has been the thing. And last year was the first year that they were really back. So, yeah.
So, the LSU at number 5, that doesn't surprise me. They're such a back and forth team, too.
They
could be on either list. It wouldn't surprise me if they were the underrated list. It wouldn't surprise me either.
Nah, that would surprise me because they always come in ranked pretty high because the recruiting classes are always good. But it's like that every 5th year where they actually win it all. Every 5th, 6th year, they actually put everything together.
And they fire the coach after year 6. That's just how it goes.
My family.
But, so Michigan State, UCLA comes in at 15. Georgia.
Really?
Georgia at 14. Michigan State, Stanford, 13 and 12. Clemson comes in at number 11. USC comes in at number 2, by the way.
I see that. I can see that.
Another Big Ten school comes in at 3. Wisconsin.
Oh, I was going to say Penn State.
Surprisingly enough, where is Penn State? That can't be right. There's no Penn State on this list. That one's probably the most surprising. I'm surprised we didn't catch that earlier today. I think Penn State's one of the most overrated programs in all of college football. Now, this is based off the standard of where you fall and compared to your ranking in the AP Top 25. But my goodness, how is Penn State not on this list at all? That's kind of wild. But yeah, I don't know where you're at with Penn State. I think they're one of the most overrated programs out there.
Top 15 team in the program, in the country. I personally don't think too highly of them. Oh my goodness, they're a threat to win it all. All right, you're a top 15 team.
It's just I think it's disrespectful to lump them in there with the Ohio States and the Michigans. They're that second tier. To Michigan's credit, they've moved their way into the top tier.
Cheated their way.
They cheated their way. I watched the doc, by the way. I went back to not liking them. I kind of liked them to start. I finished it.
I was waiting. I was waiting.
Yeah, man. The meat. I love good trolls, by the way. He was an excellent troll. I had no clue that he was doing the little cameos on the Portnoy
the pizza
reviews. Yeah. Excellent stuff. When they were doing their live show and he walked up behind him and dropped something off, kudos to that. Loved that. If I was him, I'd do the same thing. Absolutely. But yeah, the interview at the end was cringe. The interview at the end was cringe with the NCAA.
Yeah.
Kudos to them for sharing some of that. But yeah.
No, it's public record. You have to.
I don't recall.
So when people say they don't recall, I did it.
Yeah,
but you can't do it. I mean, not to be going back and forth about that whole thing again, but the NCAA, they can't do anything. They can't send you to jail for it. They can just bar you from coaching in college football. Okay. You got hired by high school. And, if you believe some of the rumors that are out there on the board, he's being well taken care of inside the program.
Go blue.
You'll never have to buy a beer in Ann Arbor again.
I know he's such a corny dude too. He goes, "Oh yeah, people coming up call me a legend." I'm like, "Oh yeah, legend." Yeah. But anyways, back to the your original your original schedule programming. So that was the most overrated NCAA football teams based on preseason rankings, according to Brett McMurphy. How about the most underrated? These are the teams that always seem to finish higher in the AP Top 25 compared to what their original ranking was, or even being unranked. I thought this was very interesting. It is a Big Ten team, and it's not even a very good Big Ten team. It's a Big Ten team that comes in at number 1 on Brett McMurphy's list.
Iowa.
No Iowa. In fact, let me make sure Iowa didn't come up on the overrated one. No, they did not. So the underrated list, Iowa does not appear on the underrated list either.
Okay.
I think they consistently always finish in that top 15. I think they're not up there with Penn State, but they kind of finish close to Penn State.
Wisconsin? But no, Wisconsin was on the other
They're
list.
on the other list, yeah. How about Northwestern?
The good old Wildcats.
So according to Brett McMurphy's list, the most underrated college football teams based on preseason rankings, Northwestern comes in at number 2. Number 1, I'm sorry. Who do you think comes in at number 2?
Utah.
No, the Cincinnati Bearcats. The Cincinnati Bearcats.
The Fighting Fickles.
I do not see Utah on this list as well. So the top 5 most underrated college football teams based on preseason rankings, Northwestern comes in at number 1, the Bearcats and Cincinnati at 2, TCU 3, Missouri 4, and the Kentucky Wildcats 5. Now, this is based on the last 5 years. I should have overemphasized that too. It doesn't surprise me. Kentucky, I think, has been a very underrated team. They don't get a lot of praise to start, but they always get some big quality wins early. They'll kind of get a good non-con win every once in a while to get you to buy in. But again, they'll get that win over Florida.
Yep.
They'll get that quality win. They'll compete with an LSU, but they can't beat the Georgias or the Bamas. Are you pulling up their schedule?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now, and they got a lot of kids from the area on their team as well. Anthony Brown from Springfield.
Anthony Brown from Springfield. I think Mo Douglas' son.
Yes.
I think that's where he's at too. Shout out to Mo, Springfield Wildcats. They do have. I mean, Kentucky has gotten a lot of some of the local kids. So that's where Anthony Brown ended up, was Kentucky. Very cool. Is he the tight end? I think he
wide receiver.
I think there was a kid from Wayne that went to Alabama. I thought it was him. That started out as a tight end, and either way, I'll look it up. But nonetheless, very good stuff. I should talk to the guy that covers all the high school sports for the station.
So I'm looking at Kentucky's schedule this year. They start with Southern Miss, who Ohio State was going to start with. Then a conference game, South Carolina, and they take on Georgia in Lexington. That would be a good game to go to.
Georgia right away?
Yeah, Georgia, week 3. Only if we knew somebody that went to Kentucky. Then they play OU, Ole Miss, Vandy, Kentucky, Auburn, Tennessee.
Kentucky plays Kentucky?
Oh, I'm sorry. What did I say? Auburn, Tennessee, Murray State, Texas. Close the season with Louisville.
Oh, sorry. The Louisville's not what I'm saying. Too. Kentucky, that schedule sucks. Sorry, guys. I like Kentucky. I'm not a Kentucky football fan, but I kind of pull for them because they get no appreciation out of the SEC. Some believe they get a little bit too much love when they do get a win because it is the SEC. But
basketball school.
They've been pretty good the last couple of years, but that schedule's kind of brutal.
Week 3, baby.
Right off the bat.
7:30 kick on ABC. SEC on ABC.
So the most underrated, the list continues. Let's see who else kind of pops up on this list. I mean, a lot of these teams, too, like you're going to get your Coastal Carolinas, your Tulanes, the American Conference teams. So you'll get a lot of Houston, Louisiana, Coastal Carolina, all right, Tulane, and Cincinnati. So the most underrated teams, according to the AP Top 25, have been those American Conference teams who either come in that fringe Top 25, that come in the 25 to 20 range, or just on the outside that end up finding their way in the top 25 by the end of the year. Because
was Memphis on that list?
Let me go through. Let me see. I do not see Memphis on this list, surprisingly. Now have they been good consistently over the last 5 years?
Yeah. I mean, Tony Pollard was there when they went like 11-1 and beat UC. The year before, UC was like super, super good. So yeah, they've been pretty good, pretty solid.
Interesting. Well, there you go. That was Brett McMurphy's Murphy's Law as far as that.
Murphy.
So, how about this? Wisconsin. They have hired Jack Del Rio as a senior advisor to head coach Luke Fickell.
He stayed working.
A team spokesman confirms to ESPN Del Rio will work with both the offense and defense and support Fickell in his role. He most recently served as Washington Commanders defensive coordinator. I'm always curious when NFL coaches do this. Is this a way to kind of get back at, is he going to, test the coaching ranks at the college level, or is this just something to keep him busy to go until he goes back to the pros? I've always liked Del Rio as an NFL coach, at least as a coordinator. I know it didn't work out in Washington, but when he went to Washington, I thought, man, that's going to be that'll work out very well. You know what I mean? But it obviously didn't.
Yeah, I mean,
more to
you
do with
think
Washington than anything.
Yeah, you think about the last two defensive-minded head coaches that went to DC, him and Ron. What is Ron's name?
Rivera.
Ron Rivera. I was going to say something else, but it just didn't work out for them. So I mean, there's no doubt about it. They got great defensive minds. I mean, you're adding a pro mind to go along with another great defensive mind and Coach Fickell. So expect some good things out of that Wisconsin defense this year.
It's a Kinner and Kev Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. We got some other NFL stuff to get to. ESPN surveyed over 100 NFL players on who the most overrated quarterback in the NFL is. Very interesting name popped up on that list, coming in as the most overrated quarterback. Also, this game between the Eagles and the Jets, or is it the Eagles in Brazil?
Mm-hmm.
Who are they playing in Brazil?
That's a great question.
Why am I drawing a blank? My apologies. I set this up. Oh, the Packers. Sorry.
Packers, yeah.
So there's been a lot of weird reports coming out of the dangers that have been reported to the players. There's certain things there's certain colors they can't wear, which is coincidental because the color is the color of both teams.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. They're not allowed to have cell phones when they're walking the streets. AJ Brown said, well, there's a solution to all of this, and the solution kind of made me laugh. We'll get to that when we come back. Most overrated quarterback in the NFL, according to 100 NFL players who were surveyed by ESPN, plus the Patriots named a starting quarterback. Are you surprised that they didn't go the rookie route? We'll talk about all of that when we come back.
Well, give it away, why don't you, Kenner?
More of the Kenner and Kev Show. Next, some people don't even know who the hell the quarterback is for the Patriots.
I know.
All right, so we got some clarification. The tight end that I was referring to that played at Wayne that would go on to Alabama is Elijah Brown.
Okay.
Anthony Brown, right at Kentucky. Anthony Brown, and shout out, I want to make sure we give Justin Smith. Justin Smith, and why does the settings on this always change on me? I like when people could actually, I always say I like when people could be able to read this. It's just my old 34-year-old eyes. I can't see it apparently. But Anthony Brown is also John Legend's nephew.
Correct.
So, pretty cool.
Correct.
You've interviewed John Legend.
Yes.
I think it was on the campaign last year. I think you had him on. I think we carried it on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Cool stuff. So I thought you were at another station. You double dip.
Yeah.
Double
Some
dipper.
station
You know I hate when people double dip. You know.
Hot 102.9.
So
10-2.
I always crack up because there's a lot of people that will listen to the show. Like I know Kev's voice from somewhere, and then when we say that, it never fails. I'll get a note like I know I heard his voice. Yeah, you probably hear him on some commercials and stuff.
I get around.
We have like about 100 people that cut commercials around here, so it's wild when they.
So many names.
Yeah, so many names, so many voices, so many people. Radio just won't stop growing. Yeah. We welcome you back, Kenner and Kev, 1410 ESPN Radio. So they're doing this. A week from tomorrow night, they're doing a Thursday night game, correct? And a Friday night game. When is this Packers game?
That's on Friday night, and Ravens Chiefs Thursday, then the college games on Saturday, and then the NFL.
Yeah, how about that? Off. So the Packers and the Eagles will open up in Brazil.
Yeah.
And this whole thing is very weird. There's a lot of crime that's going on in Brazil right now, a lot of gang affiliation crime that's going on over there. And some of the players have been warned, according to reports. And again, I'm saying this allegedly, according to different reports that have come out. Some say it's not true, but A.J. Brown has been very outspoken about the trip that they are making to Brazil. He's not happy about it.
Right.
He talked about the fact that they're not allowed to wear the color green when they are out walking the streets of Brazil. He said that A.J. Brown says players were warned that they cannot walk down the street with their phones on their trip to Brazil. A.J. Brown comes out and says, after hearing all that stuff about wearing the color green, about not being able to carry your cell phones, I'm probably just going to stay in my room after being told about all the dangers in Brazil. The NFL, I highly doubt that all the money that you make is on the line, that you need to force these guys to go to play in this particular situation. Now, maybe it's being overblown, this, that, and the other, but why go to a country that you have to tell your players, like, there are things that you need to be respectful of other countries' cultures.
Right.
I don't mind that. You know what I mean? Like you go to another country, you need to be respectful of their culture, just like we'd like in our country if professional sports teams come play a game in the States, especially with the Olympics coming up in 2028. You would like those countries to come over and be respectful of our culture, just the way that I don't think it's wrong for us to be respectful of other countries' cultures when we go over there. But that's not what this is. It's not, you need to be respectful of their culture. Don't wear green. No, it's so that you don't get murdered. Oh, hey, it's against their culture to have your cell phone when you're roaming the street. No. That is so you don't get murdered. Like maybe the multi-billion-dollar industry that is the NFL, this just doesn't seem like it's worth the juice that you're trying to squeeze. I don't get this. The NFL, I think this is good for A.J. Brown. I've read multiple reports too that have talked about the fact that the NFL's been very frustrated with him being as outspoken as he is. I'm annoyed that others haven't been as outspoken as he has been. Good for him.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what the NFL is trying to do, the constant push to globalize the game and everything like that. But like, if you are going to be having games in other countries, because they do have games in Germany and, in London and things of that nature, if you're going to continue to push the envelope, you need to make sure you have the proper security in place to not only protect the players and coaches, but all the other staff members involved as well. So I wonder if Commissioner Goodell is going to the game, and I wonder what type of security detail he has, because if he's walking around there with the mini Secret Service, so should each team.
And keep in mind, now some people will say, well, it's fine, just don't wear green. You're telling two teams, the Packers and the Eagles, you're telling those players don't wear green. The Green Bay Packers, the Philadelphia Eagles, don't wear green. Now, you're right, don't wear green. But, like, it's just, again, that obnoxious, over-the-top stuff that we got to do to appease the gangs. Nah, I'm good. I'll be fine.
You can appease them by not playing there.
Yeah, how about that? It sounds like they don't want you there. And the NFL, too, it's crazy. Like, the global appeal. I get you want to grow your fan base. You want to, and I understand that. But the NFL is like soccer is the biggest sport in the world.
Yes.
And I get you want to continue to grow your sport, the NFL. I mean, the NFL, it's wild that we have to talk about growing the sport over there to get more people to like it. But just be cognizant of where you're going to grow the game. It just doesn't sound like an area that I would really give a rip about needing to like my sport at the expense of the safety of the players. So that, it's a hard pass for me is what, and maybe it's being overblown.
Yeah.
But again, when you are getting more, like AJ Brown has done multiple podcasts where he's talked about, they've got notifications from the league. And just a reminder, don't wear green when you're roaming the streets. Don't have your phones out when you're roaming the streets. And it's not because it's culturally related. It's because it's gang related.
Yeah.
Green is a color of, I guess there's a turf war over there. It's about the color green. Like, I don't know, but yeah, there you go.
Yeah. It sounds.
Kenner and Cav live on location. St. Patrick's Day. Want to make it happen?
Fun run.
Let's go to Brazil. Yeah, let's go to Brazil.
Really be running.
I'm not much of a runner. I told you I got that fat guy disease. What was it? What did I tell you the doctor said I had the other day? Yeah. By the way,
man.
I'm taking this diet serious. No rice, no beans. I went to Chipotle today.
The great Chipotle.
I got steak, guac, lettuce, cheese, sour cream, and salsa. No rice, no beans.
Yeah, you're missing two major
no
items.
Bueno.
You're missing the carbs.
Yeah, let's go to Brazil. No rice, no beans.
Not gonna work well.
Not
for
gonna
you.
work. Not gonna work.
No, like I told you, you don't start that the week before Labor Day. Like you do that the Tuesday after Labor Day. Like this is the last hurrah. This is the last boom bang pow before weather starts to change and things of that nature. You go back into full workout mode after that. That's what I'm doing. Tuesday after Labor Day, I'm back on my morning walks and hitting the gym and eating right. I'm going to be drinking a lot of water and stuff like that. I'm going to go cold turkey until Thanksgiving.
So, yeah, Barefoot Gym. It's over there by UD. It's where I was go. Brad Mays. Shout out to Brad Mays. He's a personal trainer. He can help you. He helps me. He can help you guys out. We just signed. Yeah, but not all of us have. I'm just saying, not all of us. You will be terminated. I'm just saying. Inside joke. My apologies. But yeah, I work out all the time. It just doesn't look like it.
My brother.
Shoulders pretty jacked, arms jacked, belly. Does this look like a little weight to you? The Santa Claus quote. There you go. Other NFL news. The New England Patriots name a starting quarterback. Guess who it is?
Jacoby Brissett.
Not the rookie quarterback. I don't know why you guys guessed that so quickly. The Patriots have named Jacoby Brissett as their week 1 starting quarterback against the Jamar Chaseless Cincinnati Bengals. How about that?
Who's he throwing it to?
Let's pull that up because that's a good question. Because they cut Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Juju Smith-Schuster is all that great, but I mean,
Super Bowl champion.
When the Chiefs move on from Juju Smith-Schuster, not that they have a great wide receiver core as well, although it's better than what it was years ago. I get it. If a team like the Bengals would cut him, I get it. You have enough there, but like the Patriots, it's tough to get wide receivers at all. You can't draft them. You can't develop them. So let's see who Jacoby Brissett is throwing to. So Kendrick Bourne, Demario Douglas, Jalen Polk.
Wide receiver rookie from Washington. Good receiver in college.
That's who he's throwing to. So Hunter Henry, the tight end.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Austin Hooper as the back. Man, I remember Austin Hooper. The Browns paid him a lot of money initially up front, but mainly, people were disappointed in his production from like a catch in the yards.
Yeah, from his Atlanta production to his Browns production.
But
I remember that.
They had mainly brought him over at the time because when they had brought him, they signed him in the offseason. The Browns had traded Zeitler to get. They included Zeitler in the trade to get OBJ. Their offensive line was really bad that year. So that next offseason, that's when they signed Austin Hooper because they just needed not that he plays offensive line, but he was one of the best blocking tight ends in football. That's the one reason they went above and beyond and they got the O-line figured out. But yeah, that's a name I hadn't heard in a while, so I didn't even know he was still in the league. But that's what the Patriots are dealing with. I'm surprised it's only a 9.5 point line, the Bengals over the Patriots.
Yeah, it's not a murderer's row of who's who of wide receivers in the NFL.
So you surprised that they went the route of Jacoby Brissett? By the way, Joe Milton, the third string quarterback, not a surprise there. Drake May, backup quarterback, and then Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett, last time he was a starter, played really, really well in Cleveland. It was told he was going to be the starter in Washington. Shockers, Washington was not the most upfront about things. Heineke gets the starting job last year over him. And now he finds himself in a position with the Patriots. A lot of people shocked that he got it. I'm not. You look at that's a bad wide receiver room. And, you can't go kill your rookie's confidence. That O-line's not very buttoned up front. Your veteran quarterback, Jacoby Brissett, not bad at all. He gives you your best opportunity to win games early while you figure things out for Drake. That's not a good situation to throw your rookie quarterback out to. When you look at around the league, when you look at the fact that Caleb Williams, and I'm not comparing Drake May to Caleb Williams, but Drake May is one of the top quarterback prospects coming in the draft, right? Caleb Williams as a who's who of receivers and weapons to throw to and hand the ball off to. You look at what would have been for J.J. McCarthy. That's why when they were talking about J.J. McCarthy potentially not starting, I was like, that means he's just not very good because he doesn't have any excuse. You have Addison, you have Justin Jefferson, you have the tight end that they have that's really good, a good run game. Those quarterbacks have all the weapons in the world. Drake May doesn't. I think the Patriots made the right move here.
I agree. Speaking of Jacoby Brissett, this is his second tenure with the Pats. Can you name the other 4 teams he's played for?
So the Jacoby Brissett played for Washington, played for the Browns, played for the Patriots. I'm going to say the Jets or the Giants.
Incorrect. Same division as the Jets, though.
Was he with the Dolphins?
Correct. One more. AFC.
Oh, wait.
South.
So you said 4 teams.
Yep. You got
Isn't
one
that
more.
4?
That's 3.
That's the
outside of the Pats.
Outside of the Pats. Okay. I got nothing.
Colts.
Oh, I knew that one. Yeah, doesn't matter. I always do that. Oh, I knew that. No, you did it. Actually, Tanner, you didn't know it. As far as
4 years with the Colts.
Roger said we said the Browns. Roger, obviously was with before the Patriots. He was with Washington. He was with the Browns previously. Did he come to the Browns from the Colts?
From the Dolphins.
From the Dolphins and then the Colts to start. Okay,
yep.
Fair enough. What time we got? So coming up here in a little bit. At 6 o'clock. So you're going to have Card Subject to Change with Benjamin Chimera coming up and Big Kev. That's our weekly wrestling show. Benjamin Chimera, professional wrestler. He's the champion. He's the champion.
Champ of the world.
He's yet to bring the belt in. Keep telling him to bring the belt. He's a Michigan
I
fan.
wonder if he really is the champ then.
Yeah, I'm going to go to break. I'm going to go down and find out if he has the belt. And I'm curious, I want to know what he has to say. He's a big Michigan fan. We haven't talked to him. We haven't had Benjamin Chimera on in a while. I'm kind of curious his thoughts on the old cheater, Connor Stallions. In fact, I'm going to go find it, and I hope he has the belt. He's the champion. He's going to tell you about his wrestling promotion that he's the champion of.
Champ of the world.
All right, we'll be right back. Kenner Kev Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. Justin Smith, didn't Jacoby Brissett play for the Dolphins? Yes, sir. Yep.
The Fins.
4:56 here in the Miami Valley. You are listening to the Kinner and Kev Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. Shout out to Paul Keels, voice of the Buckeyes. Gave us some time to talk about Ohio State with him back in the first hour. We'll have that interview and that conversation coming up for you here around the corner. Card subject to change coming up at 6 o'clock. Red's going to be in action here in just a little bit. We will not have that game on here tonight. Card subject to change coming up immediately following the show. High school football tomorrow night, Pick Central at Wayne. Keith Byers and I will be on the call. Not at 7 o'clock like we always will be tomorrow night because of the heat. Some select games have been pushed back. And tomorrow night, our game is one of those. So Wayne and Pick Central, 8 o'clock, the kickoff. We'll have that for you right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Saturday, Submarine House, Centerville. All right, we'll be registering those in attendance to win tickets to the Ohio State Marshall game coming up here in a few weeks. So we're looking forward to seeing you come on up to Submarine House in Centerville for our Buckeye pregame tailgate. We got a lot going on. And then the Sunday morning tailgate show makes its return a week from Sunday, week 1 of the NFL season. The Cincinnati Bengals take on the New England Patriots, a 1 o'clock kickoff. And then, of course, you got the Dallas Cowboys and the Cleveland Browns later on at 4:25 that afternoon. We're going to be at 2 different places that day. We're going to be at Submarine House in Troy a week from Saturday. And then that next Sunday, we'll be at Frickers in the morning from 11 to 1 for our Sunday morning tailgate. And then we'll have the Kinner and Kev show live over at Hollywood Gaming in the afternoon.
We getting active.
Yeah.
You ready? It's
Absolutely.
that time. No days off for Kinner starting now until March.
And that's fine. That's fine. But we do have the top sports station here in town.
Yes.
No doubt about it. All right. Numbers are good. In fact, just got it. We're sold out. We're sold out. Guess we just need to bump up the rates. That's fine too.
Agreed.
All right. Kinner and Kev show sold out. That's great. We're all over the place. We have to tell clients, no, we're sorry. We'll have to try to find another date to get us out. That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
We
This is
busy.
that busy time of year. It's that busy time of year.
It's going to be 95 degrees tomorrow.
Ooh.
And I'm looking at it and 78% humidity.
That's it.
Yeah, it's going to be a cooker tomorrow.
Damn.
But then Saturday is only going to be 80. Going to get some thunderstorms roll through here, drop down to 80.
Oh, when the storm's coming through?
Saturday.
Oh, okay, cool.
And then we're going to be back at 85 on Sunday. So, yeah, it's a cooker. It's a cooker.
So Ohio State taking on Akron this weekend. Ohio State is one of 8. The biggest payday games in 24 in millions. Ohio State is responsible for I believe the final number. Ohio State is responsible for 4 of the highest paid 10 games this upcoming non-con. The bad teams you pay to come and just get, their behinds kicked. So the most expensive payouts to come. So UMass is getting $1.9 million from Georgia. New Mexico is getting $1.9 million from Auburn, and Western Kentucky is getting $1.9 million from Alabama. Michigan is paying Fresno State $1.85 million. Michigan's also paying Arkansas State $1.8 million. Ohio State is paying Akron this Saturday, so Akron's ass whooping is going to gain them $1.8 million. Ohio State, according to ESPN Bet, 48.5 point favorite. So there you go.
I always love, this is mainly happens during college basketball time where these payout games or whatever, and they say, blah, 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 Kentucky played Wright State $1 million to lose. Like, I love those.
Mark Adams always does so Mark Adams, who we've had on the show before, he does the do more with less. So every time an upset happens, he always does the athletics budget for the smaller school. In recent years, Wright State, they beat NC State, right? So when Scott Nagy was here, they beat NC State. They beat Georgia Tech. I know there's another one in there somewhere. They beat a few. They beat a few Power 5 schools. Louisville.
Yes.
Trey Calvin. So every time Wright State would beat one of those schools, Adams always does and he does it for everyone, but the do more with less. But it'll show Wright State's budget, which is not just one of the lowest in all of college basketball. It's the lowest in the state. So there's that. Do more with less. And that's the epitome of Wright State basketball right there. They do more with less. They don't
rate her up, baby.
They don't get the NBA arena. They don't get the, all the donors. They don't get, they do more with less. Give me the team that does more with less than the team that gets everything. I'm just saying. It does less with that. Just saying.
Where can somebody listen to Wright State basketball?
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. In fact, speaking of Kentucky, we weren't, but Wright State opens up at Kentucky. Wright State opens up at Kentucky.
2 trips to Kentucky this year.
Oh, 2. You going twice?
Yeah. We are going twice. We're going to the Georgia game for the football game. That's
Are
on.
you going to?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And then we go down there to see the Raiders, man.
Interesting.
Road tripping. This definitely can go in September because Hooper has obligations after October, but before September he should be free. Goody two shoes.
How about the beard? ESPN asked over 100 NFL players who was the most overrated quarterback in the NFL, Kev, and Josh Allen got the most votes.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't ask me because I already knew it. I would have cheated in and said, yeah, Josh Allen. But it's pretty alarming. Most overrated is because of the turnovers. I'm assuming it's because of the turnovers.
I would assume because of the turnovers. That has to be it. But 103 player. Was it like the Jets roster? Like, what do we do? Like, you don't have to love Josh Allen, but he is not the most overrated quarterback in the NFL. Like, the turnovers are a problem for quite a few, but I get that that's something he needs to address. But my gosh, the overall physical skills. From what he could do with his legs too and everything. I don't put him there at the top of that list. I don't like Jalen Hurts being at the top. I know he took a step back last year, but I don't think. He earned the right to get the love he did from leading the Eagles to the Super Bowl. He out-dueled Patrick Mahomes. They lost, but he was the best quarterback. Patrick Mahomes has won back-to-back Super Bowls where he is not the best quarterback in that Super Bowl. He's got outplayed by both quarterbacks back-to-back years. I don't know. I don't like Jalen Hurts being there at the top either. But
how many are on the list?
So they are showing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Run them.
Brock Purdy at 8. Kyler Murray at 7. Deshaun Watson 6. Trevor Lawrence 5, Justin Herbert 4, Tua 3, Jalen Hurts 2, Josh Allen 1. I have a huge problem with Deshaun being on this list, and here's why. As I was corrected on earlier today, how could you be on an overrated list when who the hell's overrating you? Who the hell's rating you to begin with? Oh, my bad.
No, you're fine. You're fine because that was going to be my point about this. Like, you have to be rated pretty high from the masses to even make this list. And you're right about Deshaun. Like, I'm not sure there's too many people that are rating him that high. Like all the talking heads that I listen to, they talk about the Browns and all the pieces around them, and they're not talking about necessarily the quarterback. And It's always like, well, if Deshaun Watson returns to form, if he does this, if he does that. Out of those guys that are on the list, that actually made the list, who would you have at number 1?
Trevor Lawrence, without a shadow of a doubt. That is a guy that was deemed after his true freshman year when he led Clemson to the national championship. Every once in a while, you'll get a quarterback that's super talented, that young, that'll start to lead to that topic of should they allow the quarterback, should they allow guys to just go straight to the NFL after 1 year if they want. He was that. He was deemed for years. He was deemed as the overall, the first overall pick, no matter what year he would have come out. Even that year that Burrow was the number overall pick, there was a big debate. If Trevor Lawrence came out that year, would he have been the number 1 overall pick? Good amount of people said, oh, absolutely. Trevor Lawrence is the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck, as far as that's concerned. Now, Caleb Williams, I'm not sure how that factors in. That was after. But Trevor Lawrence has not lived up to the hype at all, not even a little bit. And some of you guys aren't big Urban Meyer fans. Look,
Earps.
Bottom line is you either have it or you don't. And the guy has it, but I don't think he has it. I don't think he has the Joe Burrow factor. I don't think he has the Patrick Mahomes factor. I don't think he even has Josh Allen factor. I don't think he has Lamar Jackson. So I would say he's right there at the top as far as the most overrated. I'm not putting Deshaun at the top because I don't think he should be on the overrated list at all because I don't think he's rated highly at all to even be considered for that.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Overpaid, maybe.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I can make an argument against that. I would consider Kyler Murray on that list and probably Tua pretty high on my overrated list because Tua gives you all the stuff. He gives you all the numbers and all the stats, but doesn't necessarily provide you that it factor in those wins versus, other good teams. So I would consider, Tua up there as well.
Tua is one of those back-to-back years. He's an MVP candidate halfway point of the season and then injuries and just the cold, not the common cold, but just the temperature cold. He would thrive here in Ohio. Maybe, no, he wouldn't. But
right now
he might. They get that dome. That's your guy right there. Cincy Jake tweets into the show at 1410 Kenner. Let me guess, Kenner, you want Joe Burrow on the overrated list? I don't think he's as good as you all say he is, but I don't think he's overrated. I think his production speaks for itself, but You have Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase from day one, or I'm sorry, year two. Jamar Chase comes in. He hasn't had a whole lot of deficiencies to overcome. Now, the offensive line will give him that 70 sacks in 1 year to lead the team to a Super Bowl. I'd say that's pretty damn good. But yeah, CJ Stroud, and I love Jake, and I love Elliott, and I love Casey, the guys I work with over there, but they're diehard Bengals fans, right? Mm-hmm. They had the nerve to put CJ Stroud on that list. And I said, listen, I know why y'all doing this. I know exactly why you're doing this. You're getting territorial. You watch the dude come in and ball out. You watch the guy that basically did what your guy did, come in that has 3 really good wide receivers and made the league pay. Oh, see, he came in. We don't know what he could do without weapons. I'm like, you mean like your guy? You mean like Joe Burrow? CJ Stroud came in. He had Nico Collins. He had Tank Dell. And now you just go get him Stephon Diggs. And by the way, they have a quarterback in Mechie that I thought was going to be elite. Now that's unfortunate about the cancer diagnosis. I'm really curious what they're going to end up doing with him. I know that they kind of dangled him out there to see what they can get. But yeah, he's had an embarrassment of riches as well, but he's capitalized on it. CJ Stroud is not overrated.
No, definitely not.
He had the best rookie quarterback season. Look, it's a territorial thing. Bengals are watching him. And by the way, he won the head-to-head with Joe Burrow last year. This is when Joe Burrow was healthy. This wasn't early in the season when Joe Burrow was butt. This is when he was healthy before, he hurt his pinky or whatever it was. CJ Stroud already got one up on OJB. So just saying, I get it. He's and I love the Texans too. How high are you on the Texans this year? I think we've talked about this, but how high are you on the Texans?
They should win the division.
Win that division
again.
And I think that they're right. I think they're as good as the Bengals and as good as the Chiefs. I think that they're up there in that category. I really do. I think the Texans are. You look at that offense. He threw for over 300 yards a game last season. They add another weapon on top of it. They bulked up the offensive line again. They go and they add Joe Mixon. They add another pass rusher. So I like what Houston has on the defensive side of the ball. They improved there. They were one of the best run defense teams last year. They were not very good against the pass. They go and they get a couple pass rushers to get to the quarterback. They'll be just fine.
Yeah, you could go get corners or you can go get pass rushers. I prefer getting pass rushers.
And they got pass rushers. Get to Joe B. Get to Patrick Mahomes. Get to Josh Allen's overrated ass. Get to them all. All right. Good stuff. Kenner and Kev Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. Nice try, Cincy Jake. No, I will not put Joey B on the overrated list. I will not do that. Jake Whiting said, listen, we had the dub. Tyler Boyd dropped it, okay? Well, maybe Joe Burrow shouldn't have thrown it so hard. Maybe he should have thrown it right at the numbers. Maybe he did. I don't know. But, yeah, that Tyler Boyd drop. That was, stone hands. That might get you a raise in Cleveland.
Titans?
Yep.
Okay.
I like Tyler Boyd going to the Titans. I like the Titans. They get Callahan. They took the Browns offensive line coach. We'll find out just how important an offensive line coach is. You have a chef that had all the ingredients to cook great meals. You take the chef away, the ingredients are the same. I'm curious just how important Callahan is in offensive line.
On these analogies, Kenner.
So we'll see.
Is Will Levis going to be starting for the Titans, or are they going to throw my guy Mason out there?
Oh, yeah, that's where old Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer went, right?
Got a nice little contract.
Who was the quarterback that the Titans drafted? They just sent him to the Packers. Liberty. He was the quarterback at Liberty.
Malik Willis.
Yeah, they did a quiet little move over there. I liked Willis coming out. He actually looked really good in the preseason 2 years ago. I was like, well, maybe they have something. He did not look good in the regular season, but he's now with the Packers backing up Jordan. Maybe I don't even know if he's the direct backup to Jordan Love, but Packers fan Tim, you listening?
Listen to this. Tennessee real quick. I know we got to go to break. Will Levis or Mason Rudolph, whoever's going to start at quarterback. Tony Pollard from the Cowboys, Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, and Tyler Boyd.
Ooh, the Titans are like quietly good. Now, I've heard Willis has had a great camp. Not Malik Willis, sorry.
Levis.
I've heard Levis has had a great camp. But, he puts mayo in his coffee and
I'm a no mayo guy, dude. I don't do mayo.
He's an actor, apparently. Kenner and Cal, 1410 ESPN Radio.
I can't with you, dude.